ਅਸੀਂ ਵੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਅੱਜ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਬੜੀ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਸਮੱਸਿਆਵਾਂ ਚੋਂ ਲੰਘ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਕਈ ਬੱਚੇ ਐਡਿਕਟਿਵ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਡਰੱਗਸ ਦੇ, ਕਈ ਅਲਕੋਹਲਿਕ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਕਈ ਗਲਤ ਰਸਤੇ ਤੇ ਤੁਰ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਨੇ। ਲੇਕਿਨ ਕਈ ਕਨਸੈਪਟਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ, ਜੇਕਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫੋਲੋ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਏ ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਹੀ ਰਸਤੇ ਤੇ ਚਲਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਕ੍ਰਾਈਸਿਸ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਸੰਸਥਾ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਚਲਾਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਹੈ ਮਾਈਂਡਫੁਲਨੈਸ। ਆਓ ਇਸ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਝ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਣੇ ਇਸ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਸਿਸ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਦੇ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟਰ ਆਫ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਲੂ ਰਿਪਲੇ ਤੋਂ। Let's welcome her and ask her what is this concept of mindfulness and how it can change the life of a youngster. Welcome to the program.
Hi, well, thank you.
So Lou, if you could tell us about this concept of mindfulness, basically what it is and how you have been implementing it and how there has been a change in the youth.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, mindfulness is an ancient concept. It's not something that's been created in recent times, that's for sure. People part of many cultures, many religions throughout history have had a practice of contemplation.
Right.
So what's been happening in the last 30 years, 20 to 30 years, is a bit of a revival of this and making it more secular, if you will, so that it's not attached to a culture or religion.
Right.
And it's really about being present in the moment with awareness and with non-judgmentalness. So as you can imagine, in our busy society, where we're constantly on telephones and selling and pressures at school, pressures in life. It's a stressful, housing prices in Vancouver. There's a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. And so really mindfulness is about awareness, of an internal awareness. And often it comes with a time to kind of slow down a little bit and to be aware and acknowledge what is happening for oneself. Yeah.
So especially for the youth, you focus the youth, and when you talk about that internal awareness in the youth, what today we are finding is that children are facing a lot of challenges.
They're facing, upward of more than 80% of youth say that they're experiencing significant stress in their life.
Right.
And 1 in 5 youth is experiencing a mental health disorder such as anxiety or depression.
Okay.
So what we're finding with mindfulness, and it's not necessarily us, but the greater movement and research that goes along with it, is that mindfulness is providing youth with a way of becoming aware of the stress in their life and helping to dissipate it by getting clarity about how to react.
Okay, so basically what you're trying to say is that the circumstances might not change, but how you react is what is going to make a difference.
Exactly, thank you. That's perfect.
So you go to the youth in schools and then over there you interact with them.
Yeah, well we do right now, we're doing a couple things with mindfulness. One we're doing in high schools is a workshop with young people. We go in and we spend an hour and 20 minutes doing some of these practices with them, getting them to sort of, one of the ways that you do mindfulness is an internal focus on your breath, for example, as a way of checking in with oneself. How am I feeling right now? So that for later in your life, if a stressful situation happens, you have that ability to say, this is a stressful situation. How can I react in this stressful situation? Maybe I failed an exam and I have another one coming up. What can I do without letting it kind of take over your life?
Okay.
If that makes sense.
How is the youth reacting to this? Because what you are talking of is a little higher thing. And going to the youth and talking to them these kind of things, are they accepting it? And if you could give us some instances, that would be great.
I think they really, what they tell us is they really like it. And, I must admit, when I started working at the Crisis Center, I had my own practice and I came with that, and then I was like, we're doing this with youth. This is interesting. I had worked with youth for many years, and I thought, they're going to think that we're crazy doing this. And actually what has happened is the responses, we get feedback from a very workshop, and overwhelmingly they really like it. And I think there's a couple of things they like. I think they like it's a practical tool that they can use right now, and we try and make it simple, not too complicated. And I think they also really just like the opportunity to close their eyes and be quiet and not be overwhelmed with everything, even if it's just for a few minutes.
So what's the procedure if some school wants that crisis center should come over there? So is there a process through which it has to be followed, and is it complimentary or people have to pay for this? What happens?
Well, thank you for asking. We receive funding from Vancouver Coastal Health to do this kind of preventative work in the schools. So we are able to go to schools in Vancouver, on the North Shore up the Sea to Sky Highway. We also received some money to do some work in Burnaby. So those communities were able to provide free of service.
Right.
If you're outside of those areas, we need to charge. Sometimes we can have a bit of a sliding scale.
Right.
But we need to charge because we need to cover our transportation
Right.
costs.
So Lou, you talked about the preventive stage. Now basically
Yes.
how important it is today in today's world, because what we are finding is that a lot of money is being pumped into later on services. But how important do you feel interacting with the youngsters and the situation they are in, how it can have a good impact on them?
It's extremely important because what we're doing with both our mindfulness work and in our suicide awareness and prevention is reaching out to youth before these problems become big.
Right.
Right? Connecting with young people and helping them get some tools for managing stress in their lives, because life is like this,
Oh, yeah,
right?
it's
hard.
yeah.
And so let's get some tools. And also to recognize when it is good to reach out. And that's why we're really we go in, we promote the Youth in BC website.
Okay.
We promote, if you are having trouble, reach out, get help, because if you get help early, you can prevent problems from becoming bigger.
And towards that, if you could tell us where you can be contacted if anybody has any issue, where they can call you.
Well, you can look us up at the Crisis Line website, so www.crisiscenter.ca. Also, we have an office number, which is 604-872-1811. So,
Best wishes and thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you.
ਲੂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅੱਜ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਜੀ ਉਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੁੱਖ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਯੰਗਸਟਰਸ ਦੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਹਨ, ਡਿਸਟ੍ਰੈਸ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਪੇਅਰ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ਼ਰ ਵੀ ਹੈ, ਘਰ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ਼ਰ ਹੈ, ਕਲਚਰਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮਸ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਹੋਰ ਬੜੀਆਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਸਮੱਸਿਆਵਾਂ ਨੇ। ਉਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇਹ ਮਾਈਂਡਫੁਲਨੈਸ ਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਨਸੈਪਟ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਨੇ। ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਸਿਸ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮਸ ਚਲਾਏ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਯੂਥ ਵਾਸਤੇ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਕਿ ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਲੈਣੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ youthinbc.com ਤੇ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, ਜਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜੋ ਸਕਰੀਨ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਨੰਬਰ ਹੈ ਉੱਥੇ ਫੋਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਹੋਰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਪ੍ਰੀਵੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਫੋਕਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਫੋਕਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਦੱਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਏ ਕਿ ਪਰਿਸਥਿਤੀਆਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਆਏ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਟ੍ਰੈਸ ਅੰਡਰ ਹੋ, ਤੇ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਨਾਲ ਕੋਪ ਅਪ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ। ਇਹੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਮਕਸਦ ਹੈ।